Are you ready to drive? Are all roads the same? Can anybody drive on any road? Is a road restricted to the number of cars that can drive on it? How do we say somebody is overspeeding? Welcome to Richway Driving School. My name is Dominic. If you want to reach us, you call us on 0242 151659. Today, our topic is the road. A road is a length of way that is meant for public access. What it means is that when we talk of a road, it is a length of way that will enable you to move from one point to the other. In Ghana, we group our roads into four main categories. We have the motorway, the highway, the urban city roads, and the feeder roads. Each of these roads has their own characteristics and what you are required to do when you get onto them. So we start with the motorway. A motorway is a road which is meant for speed driving. So the emphasis is on speed driving. It is usually built with the aim of reducing the traveling time between two cities. So for instance, Nkrumah had built the harbor in Tema, but the capital city was Accra. So he needed a road that will enable you to go to Tema and return to Accra in a very short period of time. And that is why he built the motorway. And generally, because it is meant for speed driving, it is mostly built in the outskirts of town. That it is built where people do not live. Because technically, nobody is supposed to cross the motorway directly. If you will go across the motorway, you have to use either a footbridge or an underpass. So originally when the motorway was built, the mall was not there. All the buildings, Strasako and all the buildings which are now emerged around the motorway, nothing was there. It was a complete bush. And so technically it didn't even needed there to be a road because you could have gone to Tema through the Nungwa stretch. But he needed the road that will not be impeded, the road that will move smoothly. So anything that limits movement or that limits speed is removed from the motorway as much as possible. So there are no speed ramps on the motorway. There are no traffic lights on the motorway. Technically, there are not supposed to be any bus stops on the motorway. That is when you enter a motorway, you are supposed to drive to your exit and you leave. You are not supposed to stop on the motorway to pick or drop a passenger. But because we have now allowed houses to come close to the motorway, that is why now the commercial drivers have found their own bus stops that they are using to pick and drop passengers. But technically, it is wrong for you to stop on the motorway unless it's an emergency. And if it's an emergency, you move to the side of the road, the side which maybe on a normal road we call it the pavement, but in a motorway we call it the hard shoulder. So the side of the road of a motorway, if you hear a hard shoulder, then we are referring to the side of the road or the pavement of a motorway. The motorway can also be called an express road. So those in US, if you hear express road, is the same as the motorway. In Ghana, our motorway allows you to drive up to a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. So the legal maximum speed on the motorway is 100 kilometers per hour. But if you realize I said it is meant for speed driving, so there's also a limit to how slow you can go. And the minimum speed limit you can do on the motorway is 50 kilometers per hour. If your car cannot go at least 50 kilometers per hour, you are not supposed to go onto the motorway. So because of this, certain vehicles and drivers are prohibited from using the motorway. One, a learner driver. Somebody who is now learning how to drive is not supposed to go onto the motorway. Because by law, a learner is not supposed to drive above 50 kilometers per hour. And that is the minimum on the motorway. So you have no business going there. You can't go and ride a bicycle on the motorway. You cannot also ride a horse on the motorway. You cannot drive an agricultural vehicle like a tractor, a combine harvester, a harrow. You can't drive them on the motorway. The reason is that by law, an agricultural vehicle is not supposed to go beyond 30 kilometers per hour. And so that fall way below the limit of the motorway. So agricultural vehicles, if they need to go across the motorway, they must be carried on a low bed, which will take them across the motorway. And generally, motorway is not a rough road. For a road to be called a motorway, it is usually either an asphalt road or a concrete road. And the Ghana motorway is actually a concrete road. That is, it was built with sand, stones, and cement. So it's a concrete road. Generally, concrete roads last longer than asphalt roads, just that it's expensive to construct. Because if you look at the motorway, it was built by Kwame Nkrumah in the 1960s, 50s, but it is still there up to now. But most of the asphalt roads that were built even around the time of President Kufuor are no more there. So the motorway, the asphalt road lasts longer. Okay, the motorway is always either a dual carriage road or a multiple carriage road. So the question will be, what do you mean by a carriage? See, when we talk of a carriage, we are referring to the number of lanes on the road that moves in the same direction. The number of cars that can move side by side each other in the same direction. So we have three types of carriages. We have a single carriage road, a road on which only one car is moving in a direction and another car coming in the opposite direction. So on that road, one car goes, one car returns. So that's what we call a single carriage road. Then we have a dual carriage road. With a dual carriage road, you can have two cars going, two cars returning. So, for example, the Accra Tema motorway is a dual carriage road. You have two cars that can be going to Tema at the same time and two cars returning at the same time. And then we have what we call a multiple carriage road, where you have three or more lanes moving at the same time. So, for example, those who are familiar with roads like the roads in 37, that's roads from the Mall area towards Accra, that is a multiple carriage road. At certain sections, you have three, certain sections, you have four, five. So that is a multiple carriage road. But sometimes we use the dual carriage to refer to all the roads which are more than one carriage. So if somebody say the road from 37 to Accra is a dual carriage, technically he's not wrong, because sometimes you can use the word dual carriage to refer to all the types of roads which are more than one lane. So that's the dual carriage. But the unique thing with the motorway is that it does not change the carriages. It maintains the carriage it starts with. So if it's a dual, it maintains the dual to the end. And the motorway is not easily accessible. Like you don't just access it at any point. There are some designated assessment points through which you may access the motorway. That is when the highway you are traveling on becomes a motorway. So, for example, those from La Paz moving to Tema, as soon as you reach the mall, you are still on the same straight road, but it has now become a motorway. Then also, it is when you use a side road or a slip road. That is a road that does not join the motorway at a right angle. It travels along with the motorway before it merges. I'll do another video where we will show you visual ways of joining the motorway. You see? So these are some of the things we can say about the motorway. The speed limit is very important, 100 kilometers maximum, 50 kilometers minimum. Then we move on to talk about the highway. A highway is a road which is built to link two cities or two towns. It is also referred to as a trunk road. It can be either an interregional road or it can be between towns or national roads. The highway is also not a rough road. For a road to be called a highway is not a rough road. They are usually asphalt roads. And when you find yourself on a highway, you are allowed to drive up to a maximum speed of 90 kilometers per hour. You see, the highway is such that it can assume any of the carriageways. It can be a multiple, a dual, or a single carriage. And sometimes the same stretch of highway may assume the different carriages at different sections. So at one section, the highway may be a multiple, and when you get to yet another section, it may be a dual, and yet another section, it may be a single. Highways has the tendency of changing its nature as it goes along. But the facilities we said are absent on the motorway, they are all present on the highway because the highway goes through cities, it goes through towns, it goes through villages. So if the road is going through my city, you can't say I should not be able to cross it. Maybe I live on the right, but my church is on the left. So I should be able to move from the right to the left. So on the highway, there are zebra crossings. I need to get down from a car when I get in front of my house. So on the highway, there are official bus stops. There are traffic lights to allow other cars to join. There are roundabouts, other facilities that makes the road user-friendly. There are speed ramps. Because you see, mostly what happens is that when the cars are in the bushes, they turn speeding. So when they are about to reach the next town, you see that the speed ramps will start coming to force you to slow down. Because the speed that you can do in the bush, when you get to a town, it reduces from the 90 to 50. So that is why the speed ramps will come to limit the speed at which you can drive in the town. So on a highway, there are official speed ramps. Okay, the highway, there is a body in Ghana who is mandated to take care of the highways, and we call them the Ghana Highways Authority. So they see to the well-being of the highway. They look at regulate the contractors who are employed to build the highways. I'll do a separate video on each of these category of roads, and we'll take our time to discuss them. So let's move on to the third category of the road, which is the urban city road. These are the roads which are found within our cities and within our towns. You see, for example, the roads within Accra are urban city roads. The roads within Kumasi, the roads within Takoradi, they are urban city roads. And these roads, when you find yourself on them, technically they are supposed to be tarred roads. Even though we know in most of our areas, our roads are untarred. But technically, the roads in the city are supposed to be tarred roads. The urban city road can also assume any of the carriageways. It can be a multiple carriage, a dual carriage, or a single carriage road. In addition, an urban city road can actually be a one-way road. What do we mean by a one-way road? A one-way road is a road on which all the cars are moving in the same direction. What it means is that the road can have even 4 lanes, but yet still all the 4 lanes will be meant for cars which are moving in the same direction. Those of us who are familiar with Accra and are familiar with Legon and the Medina area, you see there is a road coming from East Legon to join the traffic light at Shiasi, that's the Standards Authority. And that road, it has about 4 lanes coming to the traffic lights.